Like secluded.
We're waiting. I see.
No, that was not playing naughty. In the man.
Oh, we gotta get you out.
They're showing the way.
Got one more walking in and then we'll get started. But I will call this meeting to order, and we will take the roll call.
Okay. Bethula Haynes,
Here,
Chris Clark. Here. Lee Anderson. Joe Bonds. Kevin Brown. Paul Kiriker. Chris Collins. Lynn Faust. Aaron Frank. Deborah Foltz. Greg Goldstein.
here,
Jamie Jackson. Linda Lassutte. Jim Lynch.
Here.
Ben Matters. Clay Murray. Jacob Paswick.
Here.
Craig Pennington. John Summer. Paul Agnello. Matthew Decatur. Deborah Lately.
Here.
Cassie Lord.
Here.
Rob Maple. Ken Mitchell. And Brian Ogle. Is there anybody I've missed? Yes.
all right, thank you. And John, we do have a quorum, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, we will move on to item number 3, approval of the July 11th, 2024 BPAC meeting agenda. Do I have any comments, questions, and or a motion? All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to approval of the May 2nd, 2024 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Was presented, unless Jacob has a comment.
Of course I do. Chair, I do have a couple things. I just want to, just for correction's sake, on the third page of the minutes. Third line down, it references adding the East Coast Auxiliary Trail. It would be the East Coast Greenway Auxiliary Trail, just for sake. And then also on the second paragraph on that page, the sentence reads that I had mentioned the segments of the Virginia Central Railway Trail that had been procured by some private owners. I'd also wanted to just cover that we had also noted eastward progress that we were pursuing through public means through our TAP, Smart Scale, and revenue sharing. So I just wanted to kind of note that. And then the next sentence down, he mentioned a recreational trail easement that attempts to reclaim county ownership. It's really public access because it's securing an easement. We weren't looking to own the property in that. And that would be of the trail in time as that's available. And then lastly on this, within that same paragraph, it says near Lake Anna. The easement that I was referencing in the western part of the county is actually not near Lake Anna. It was in reference to the Lake Anna State Park Connector Trail that we have planned. And this was the S-Power recreational trail easements, which are further north. So I just want to make sure that that wasn't specific to Lake Anna. Thank you.
With Jacob's clarification.
All right, do we have a second?
I will second that.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to the FAMPO Administrator Report, and more specifically, an overview of the river crossing and a bicycle and pedestrian discussion on the river crossing.
Chair, thank you. Just to explain, Carrie Eves is normally in the chair at BPAC, but she's not well, so she is at home. I believe she is listening in online, but I'm just standing in for her, and John is assisting, so we're here tonight. We're not always here. The river crossing pathway alternative study, we're not going to go through all of the study materials tonight, but what we want to do is just start a conversation about the bike and pedestrian elements that are linked to the study. So John, if you move on to the next slide. Can you move that square at the top there out of the way somewhere there? So the question we want to ask is, how will the bike and ped network link to the bridge? So the consultant who is working on this project is including a shared use path on the bridge. And in terms of federal regulations, if we one day go to construct the river crossing bridge, you can't just have a bike ped path on the bridge. You have to make sure that you are connecting it to something. And so we want to speak specifically to the FAMPO jurisdictions, because it affects FAMPO jurisdictions more than the rural counties. Where would you see ideally that shared use path going to, right? On either side of the bridge. And so we're requesting feedback from the FAMPO jurisdictions on how to go about doing that. And then when the consultant continues with the study, they will be able to indicate those links on all of the plans and diagrams and so on that they are preparing. So really this set of slides tonight is just to start the conversation. We're not asking for anybody to make any decisions, but we want you to be part of the process, and we want the FAMPO jurisdiction particularly to maybe come back with some suggestions when you've spoken to your people and so on. So that's really what we're just starting tonight, is just to start a discussion, to hear what you all think, and to encourage jurisdictions to have your own discussions so that you can come back and make some recommendations to our consultants. Next slide. So just in terms of the type of infrastructure we're looking at, it's 2 vehicle lanes in either direction on the bridge. And then on one side, we would have the shared use path. The corridor we're looking at is a 250-foot wide study corridor, but it's not going to be a 250-foot wide infrastructure facility, right? If you do a little calculation, 4 12-foot car lanes, a raised median in the middle, and a 10-foot shared use trail, that doesn't equal 250, it's below 100. So the actual width would be about, something just below 100 feet. The reason why they're looking at a 250-foot wide study corridor is that the engineering design may not be right in the center of the corridor. So it may, to avoid a house, it may have to shift to the right or to the left. To avoid some natural feature that is environmentally sensitive, you may have to shift that. So we're looking at quite a wide corridor in case you need to work on it. But that's the basic width of the study corridor and what the likely they would look like. Next slide. There you can see that geographic, visually, the corridor is quite wide. The roadway won't, as in the middle, go just in a straight line, because there are physical and environmental boundaries that need to be avoided. So if there's a historical resource, we may need to shift that roadway. If there's, some other housing that is very close to the roadway, we may have to. So the diagram on the right is what the likely way that the final engineering team would design this. It's not going to be a dead straight line. It's going to, move within the corridor. We take a wider corridor for environmental reasons. So you want to look at what the environmental impacts would be of such a roadway. So you look a little wider than just where you think the roadway is going to be. Next one. So that's a page from the study materials. You can't see the colors as well from the back of the room here as what you can on the small computer screen. But those are the 4, which are now 5 options for consideration as to where to put the actual roadway. And the reason there's now 5 is because one of the options, option B, they're looking at 2 alternatives, mainly because of input from Stafford in terms of where some new developments are happening. The silver companies are developing that area, and there's certain rights that they have and certain proposals that are on the table. So we're looking at 2 different versions of that option B over there. But those are the potential routes that the roadway would take, and on the side of the roadway, there would be a shared use path. However, the shared use path won't necessarily follow the full length of that roadway because that might not be convenient for pedestrians or cyclists. You might want to connect into the trails that exist or make new trails, whatever the case is. But we've blown it up on the next slide, so hopefully on the screen it looks a little better. There you go, you can see it a little more clearly now. So those are the options. And what we really want to ask BPAC and the city and Stafford County and even Spotsylvania really is, where do we connect this into the biker pedestrian network? And I remind folks, you are the bicycle and pedestrian committee. There's also pedestrians we have to think of. So where would people want to walk to if they want to walk across the bridge, and try to think through the logic of that. So we as FAMPO staff are not going to make that decision. We'd like for the jurisdictions to have the input into that. Next slide, John. So the question is, where should that go? We're going to stop in a moment and I'm going to ask you to just share your thoughts, and then we'd encourage the jurisdictions to also take it back to their planning staff and their leadership in the county and the city and Spotsylvania, and just talk through this and give your thoughts as well. So discuss it tonight, talk to your localities, etc. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. It's a very simple slide deck, basically just a thought starter, and that's all that it really is. There you can see the map again. So Mr. Chair, over to you. We're glad to listen to comments from the floor, and then in future we'd like you to give us further comments, which we will feed back to the stakeholder group of the study and to the consultant who will be working on it.
Just to throw a little fire on it briefly, that alternative A, the development, if you remember, was approved. The Belmont Park Industrial Development. So just
Yeah, we have a
FYI.
question about that. The rezoning was approved, but was a development plan approved
Not yet.
as to where to site buildings?
No, so right now all that's in is a GDP, and they proffer to build their development similar to the GDP, but they have not submitted a site plan yet for anything. That'll be a month, years, we don't know. But just an FYI on that.
The study will be completed this year, and we'll probably have a preferred alternative by October
At the earliest,
So
probably.
I'll just speak briefly on the Stafford side, and then we can kind of just, if anybody has any comments, questions, we can go from there. But in Stafford, Cellar Virginia Parkway has a shared use path running down most, if not all of it, all the way to the golf course, up from the commercial center at the northern end of the parkway. So that is obviously our main connection point. We also had two multimodal studies done in this area, one several years ago along US 17, which called for additional options as well. And then what we call a Stafford Heritage Trail study that looked at north-south options, up along Route 1 or along various easements or along what kind of Ian and FAMPO has termed as the Western Network. So that would be our primary connection point, is that Western Network, Commerce Parkway, Plantation Drive, on Trustler Road, Mine Road, all that eventually north. So we kind of have two main connection points to the bridge, one being Cellar Virginia Parkway and one additional being where that purple alignment starts to go north.
And just a quick question, the Celebrate Virginia shared use path, which side of the road is it on? I don't recall.
Yeah, what John has,
On
the
the-
northbound side.
On the eastern side?
You do have the connection up here, there's a trail that.
Yeah,
Okay.
not a 10-foot or 12-foot shared use path. It's like a 6 foot, so it doesn't meet GOT standards. We'd obviously upgrade that at some point if we were to build an actual major system up there. But yes, there's also the park, kind of the central left of the image, down near the lake, and there is some off-road trails there that would be of interest to connect to. Lastly, there is a proffer amendment in for a development proposal for a majority of the Celebrate Virginia site, which is kind of bounded by the red and Cellar Parkway, and north of where John's arrow is. So that would add a lot of additional homes, and they'd obviously build we'd make sure they obviously build multimodal connections to whatever bridge, if it gets built in that area. So that's just for the Stafford side from a staff perspective. We kind of just go on that around the room if anyone wants to start.
I would like to, but
Go for it.
I would like to start by actually just because the next logical step down is Fredericksburg. So from my perspective in Spotsylvania County, I wanted to confirm with the effort, thank you for, I'm glad you're here. The small area plan, you have one on the on the
Yes.
Central Park. Yeah. Correct? Yeah. Did that include a shared use path down Charlie Silver to Route 3? Yeah. Okay, so that is where my connection, I would say, would be, is Charlie Silver, because in addition to all the studies of the Route 3 corridor, you know, there was talk about a grade separation of the road, but how we were gonna actually cross Route 3. That to me is the logical connection point for a shared use path then to head ultimately, it would terminate really at Spotsy Town Center. We do have planned kind of a road connection through that eventually, so that to me is the most logical route for our connection. I don't. Feasibility is the whole. Yeah, this is definitely long range plan, but at the same time, that would be what would make most logical sense for me. I don't have any other real planned trail network.
Yeah.
Immediately in that area.
We're basically looking at an alternative to the East Coast Greenway. East Coast Greenway is on the east side of I-95. Everything we're talking about here is your north-south option west of I-95. And this bridge provides that connectivity. Because right now, East Coast Greenway is the Chatham Bridge. This would be the Rappahannock, whatever we name it, Ian Allis Bridge on the west side of the road.
Well, with that being the case, East Coast Greenway is Maine to Florida. I don't know that I have right now, at least, anything south of
You get stuck
the
down.
mall. Then you're starting to bring in the mall connector road kind of concept, and that fell out of our comp plan years ago. The VCR trail is down there, but there's a ways to go, and I don't know that right now, at least there's support for it. I don't have any trail network plan there, but I know I could probably get you to the mall. That would be a logical connection with the city for me.
Yeah.
From a Stafford County perspective, you were saying that you're looking all the way up to Mine Road for east-south as a trail?
Yep.
That would be game changing. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, because we have the new I'll call the new section. It's what,
Yeah.
6-8 years old now, but the new section of Mine Road that does have the shared use path.
Yes.
That goes all the way up. So eventually you'll see the connection between Courthouse Road and Ramos Church, American Legion eventually built. That'll certainly include a shared use path. We'll eventually widen Center Parkway to 4 lanes probably. That'll include a shared use path. And then further south,
So is Stafford planning primarily all shared use paths with developing these or widening these roads?
for that western network, yes, that would be the plan, is build a shared use path on the southbound side of the road.
Thank you.
I don't have as many details on our long range plan, so I know something. So.
You've got the shared use path up Bull Hill Avenue,
Yes.
which is kind of heading towards this vicinity. And I'm not sure what there is, as you put it, the Carl Silver thing through there as well. So there's the trails down along the riverbank that are semi-formal, they're semi-informal.
Yeah, the Bankside Trail.
So there's lots of pieces there. We just have to work out how exactly to utilize those best.
I mean, what could eventually happen, kind of to Jacob's point, is the city basically has most of the way, either constructed or funded or on road, Mott's Run all the way to the VCR trail at I-95. This would be that connection that covers, we're looking at a crescent right now. This would be the connection that kind of covers that empty edge of it. If you get to VCR and Spotsy, obviously, but you basically have a circle, you could go around the whole of the city.
Where are the quarry trails? Where are the quarry trails?
If you look carefully there in green, a lot of them are
That's
drawn in there. It's because of the color and the screen and all that, they're not easy to see, but if you look there, you'll see very spidery little green lines around there. Those are all those trails. They indicated, the consultant drew them on the map, so they are there.
I did, I just, wonder if there's a reason to have the quarry trails a part of the linkage there or not, leave them the way they are. It's really I've heard here, I mean, I haven't ever been out there, but the cycling community, is real avid about it. They love it apparently.
Yeah.
And we have to ask, is it gonna help or hurt to have a linkage right through the quarry or close to it? So we need to ask them about it.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that the city internally will probably have some conversations about what they think. So as FAMPO, I'm trying to not kind of say, oh, I think X, Y, and Z. I think that we'd like to hear from the bike and ped community, and we'd like to hear from the city, from Stafford, from so when we hear from people that actually do cycle and from people in the jurisdictions who actually have to work with us in future, I think that's more important than what FAMPO staff think. We're here just to listen, really.
With the quarry trail and even MOTS, my understanding is that's really kind of specific to a subset of users, though, that we utilize this bridge trail, which is more of a hard surface shared use path.
Very different.
That caters really to more mountain bike kind of
Or,
off-road
yeah,
bike scenario. So I think it would be very valuable to have the linkage to that. But again, it's gonna cater more to a subset of users. That's my thought.
definitely. One other thing I'll add, just bringing King George into this loop as well with the Doggin Trail. Obviously, Stafford's plan is to eventually connect Chatham Bridge out to the Doggin Trail, right? The Belmont Fair Farm Trail still exists in one form or another, but our plan is to eventually make that connection. That connection as of right now is to the VCR trail and then out to Orange County or wherever Spotsylvania takes it, right? But this would be that goes west. This would be a northwest option that you could then take up into Stafford and go further out 17. We have a new high school being built up there. There's other homes built up there. So definitely plenty of options too.
Good discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Of course.
just seeing that Lynn is not in the room, I just do want to echo some of the comments I heard about, strong coordination with road trails. Regardless of how that impacts the quarry in that, purple scenario, which would be pretty significant. There's a lot of impacts into how that trail is used, let alone that.
There is definitely, I mean, the two things we do know that there's a lot of interest among the biking community about being able to cross the river, not necessarily in a particular location, but there are not enough crossings over the river that actually accommodate bike and ped, right? There's the Chatham Bridge, and then what else? Well, nothing, right? So US 1, there's nothing. Route 3 that crosses the river, there's nothing. And so those are quite dangerous roads if you're walking or on a bicycle. And so when we started this study, one of the first things we put to the policy committee is that this becomes a multimodal bridge. Buses must be able to use this bridge. Bikes must be able to use this bridge. Pedestrians must be able to use this bridge, because once you build the damn thing, to then go back and ask people to find money for an addition that includes bike and ped and so on is impossible. It's really hard. But if the bridge is going to cost $280 million, you might as well make it 285 and put the damn bike path on from day one. So and the policy committee was happy with those list of requirements. So we've included it from day one so that we don't have to try and go back, because now everybody's trying to put pressure on VDOT to put a bike path or a shared use path on the US 1 bridge when it's renovated. And it's hard to do because there's some practical difficulties, right? Anything can be done, but they're going to tell you how many millions and millions of dollars you're going to need to adjust that bridge if you want to add to it.
That's what they've always indicated, that it's very, very hard engineering wise to make it wider than.
Because of the columns, the pillars, and the lean-to sections and all that, there are issues. I'm not going to get into that now, But that is the reason why we're talking about this now. When we're conceiving of this bridge, if we're gonna build this bridge, we're gonna put bike and ped on it now, so we don't have to later on go and fight with people and try and find money and have a whole drama. Let's have the drama now. Let's finish with the drama and then go try and find the money to do the whole thing.
Yep.
We may not find it, we may find it, whatever, but the point is, we're doing this now, not later. Later is too late.
All right, well, thank you, Ian, and thank you for bringing this item up. We will take those, or Ian and John will take those into consideration as they continue to work on this study. I'll note that the meetings are open to the public. We do have members of the public who do join those river crossing meetings, so anyone is welcome.
We don't have advertised them because they're not
Yeah.
technically public meetings, they are staff meetings, but
Yeah.
we don't do anything in secret here, so anybody can walk in and attend.
We'll move on to item number 6, and maybe 7 should be combined, but public involvement. Yeah, so we'll move on to item number 7, public comment. Comments and questions from members of the public are welcome at this time. If anyone in the room or online who wishes to make public comment, or John, if there was any comments received prior to the meeting.
There are no comments received prior to the meeting.
Alright.
Do not see anybody online.
Awesome.
I had one from last meeting I could not make. It was, probably need to get with you offline. It was on Austin Ridge Drive. I received several comments on the crosswalks that people don't stop, and I don't know if it's enforcement. That and Mine Road.
Yep, there was some public comment on board meeting last month about it, yeah. All right, well, with that, we'll move on to discussion action items. There are 3 items for today, and the first item is continuing our topics on the University Greenway update. A reminder, the past couple of meetings, we've discussed the Greenway projects in Stafford and Spotsylvania and updates needed. And here we are to discuss rural counties and specifically KGVA.
Give me the remote. Thank you, sir. So I actually sat down, Mr. Lynch and I sat down a month ago, maybe more, I don't know, it's such a blur, to go through it because as identified by the plan, a major trail in the plan is the Dog and Railroad Heritage Trail, which is in our county. So just our quick updates. And yes, like Ian's previous map, it is awful hard to see the green. But first is to connect the rail trail to Caledon, and they're actually, the light green that runs through the bottom of the picture obviously is the DRHT. Caledon has internal trails, which are on the lighter color. And then the connection that we talked about previously was to come up from where the trail goes under 218, which is the blue at the eastern end of the park. But there have been further discussions if the Lake Caledon project ever comes into fruition, or even when if it were to be developed as a neighborhood, being able to connect the red section there from Lake Caledon into Caledon State Park. For Barnesfield Park at the south end, the DRHT comes in 1 foot up, probably there on the left, and it's the light green, which is hard to see with all the lot lines, but I needed them. The red section was part of the railroad trail and was sold off to others. And the first owner after the Navy took it on, he shouldn't have been able to do that, but he did. So our options would be, we could stay on road, which is the light blue, and come down Owens Drive and come along 301 to get into the park. We could come down Owens Drive and use the royal blue into the park, but that would go through private property and maybe an interesting way to get there. And then the 2 yellow connections, either staying on the road or connecting into Wayside Park from actually the one that's a little bit to the north that kind of crosses through the name of Roseland Road. That did exist previously, and we just need to rediscover it and knock the foliage out of the way.
Hey, Chris, if it's okay, if I could just talk a little bit about that red part, those are the trails, parts of the trail that are owned by other owners other than the primary owner that owns the major part of the Dog and Railroad Trail. All of those owners are extremely supportive of the trail. Okay, so it isn't that I'm gonna have to twist their arm or throw a lot of money at it. They're extremely supportive of the trail, so don't put too many worries about that. And then in fact, we're beginning to talk about about the Dogwood Railroad Trail as encompassing the whole length of the abandoned railroad out to Route 301. So we're beginning to expand the use of that term. No. Well, thank you, Chris. That's all I have to say about that.
Interior wise, which is not part of the Greenways plan, but we actually own 330 acres at Barnesfield. We own 1014, we own 1013A, and we own the other one that's encircled by the oval and then Wayside Park on the right with the circle. And a lot of that is wetlands, so we are preparing to do a master plan for the park that is out to bid right now and is due next week. So we'll be bringing a consultant in to help us work through that, and we anticipate some sort of internal trail network and providing, mountain biking, walking, running, whatever it is. To go to the east or the western end as we go towards Spotsylvania or towards Stafford. When we did the plan, the board of supervisors had concern about coming through the industrial park. So their recommendation was the blue that comes down Bloomsbury Road and then would have to go all the way west along Route 3 to get to Stafford. So in this update, we just want to highlight again that there could be future options of rails with trails, although the gentleman I spoke with, VDOT, said getting something to CSX, I was more likely to win the power twice, I think.
I'd say many more times than that.
Yeah, it was very interesting in that meeting, the way he made it sound pretty much impossible, but it is an option that we have looked at one point. And then the other option would be to come down Birchwood Creek, which should be orange and looks more brown, and then connect to Route 3.
Yeah, the rails with trails option, I'm an advocate of it, but we realize there's issues with the railroad company. Okay, we understand that. Sooner or later, that rail line is going to have to be upgraded or repaired or fixed or something, at which time federal money will probably have to come into play. Federal money comes into play. If we have some paper plan that we'd like to see it with trails there, then we would have some leverage. That's the only reason to have it there now, not to go and try and arm wrestle with the railroad. Because agree with Chris that it's a no-win for them. There isn't anything that they would gain by agreeing to rails with trails option now, until that's to be an upgrade. Thank you, Chris.
And then Hop Yard Farm, 898 homes. Eventually, one of their proffers was a multi-use trail, shared use path, really, And so it runs from Weems Drive, where the yellow and green come together. Economic development push to not have it connect all the way to Route 3. So that section was removed along property owned by the Service Authority. And so it does run the length, and at some point this year, the county should take over ownership of the trail itself. We're trying to just have the 6 feet of the trail and not be responsible for any dirt or grass. And that's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the update. And I believe we have 1 or 2 more updates coming at later BPAC meetings, but we'll get there. So with that, we'll move on to item 8B, Smart Scale Round 6 Regional Project Applications. I know Carrie is online. I'm not sure if she'll be giving this presentation or if John or Ian in the room will be taking over.
John, is Carrie still online? Yes. Can she hear us? Carrie, do you want to do the presentation or should we handle it from here?
No, I'm sorry. Hi, I'm here. But if John is willing, it would be better if he did it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Carrie. Well, John, go for it.
All right, I'll keep it simple because folks will probably be more aware of some of these projects than are. We are approaching the end of kind of the smart scale deadlines and updates. we're kind of to the point of where we need to have a lot of our support documents in for review, and therefore, the final deadline will be in August 1st, but we need to have information earlier. And then the application scoring period will begin, later this fall, starting in September. The FAMPO projects that were submitted, include Butler Road widening, basically the 2-lane section, starting at Carter's all the way to about where the YMCA is. It includes a 4-way, I-95, a 4-lane widening southbound in Spotsylvania, pipeline study along Smith Station Road, and the recommendations of another pipeline study at Levels Road. These are the 4 projects that have been submitted, and there's no other project that will be falling off at this time. The GWRC projects are the I-95, 136 interchange and Center Ports Parkway project. We have Warrenton Road widening from Stafford Lakes to Village Parkway. We have the Enon Road Centerport connector project, and finally we have a Route 3 639 pipeline study for Old Plank and 5 Mile Road to Salem Church Road. So the projects are, these are those with like PED project components, and of course these are sketches from the pre-application phase. So forgive me, this is going to be tough. So
Folks have got these all in their pack already,
Yes.
don't they? Yeah, so you already have seen these.
let's see. Oh, okay, there's a shared use path and crossing involved at this project here. Going along that area.
The shared use path, unfortunately, is identified as by basically part of the separate improvement project.
No, we changed it.
Oh, we did?
Yeah,
Oh, I've not gotten that information. That's great.
John,
So-
John, we have all the jurisdictions here. We've got VDOT here, so maybe
We can-
let's let VDOT and the jurisdictions run through the pictures.
Okay,
yeah, it's gonna go down where you guys have a development going in.
yeah,
There's a
that's,
giant,
that's correct. Yeah,
so we're gonna run the shared use path down that side all the way to that intersection.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's the only way that qualified for HPP funding.
We're trying to eventually get that Massaponax Creek Trail system, where the county maintains it and maintains a trailhead with parking, with trails that just terminate at Massaponax Creek with a future bridge that's been future bridge for like 15, 20 years. So we're trying to get those linkages and trying to promote the Massaponax Creek Trail and linking Levels Road infrastructure to that resource. So that's very helpful. Thank you for the update.
Jump to the next slide. I can just speak on this one a little bit. This is a widening of Butler Road from 2 to 4 lanes. And specifically on this project, we have sidewalks on both sides of the road, including crosswalk at the park and up into the neighborhood. And then as well as a connection to the existing Belmont Ferry Farm Trail from the YMCA. So they'll just provide increased connectivity to the existing trail system and provide a continuous network of sidewalks from Route 1 at Warrenton Road all the way out to, I guess, Deacon Road. Again, this is another Stafford project. This is actually a part of that Western network I was talking about earlier. More specifically, the only bicycle pedestrian portion of this project is in the left side of the image where that roundabout is. This is a shared use path connection from Plantation Drive through the roundabout on Trustlow Road over to Stafford Junction and the future Musselman Park, which was funded by our Board of Supervisors in the past budget year. So this is what I'll call a phase 1 project. We are building a small portion of the future shared use path. Multiple additional phases of this project will include a shared use path and eventually a widening to 4 lanes. We identified a growth rate in this area in traffic on a number of roads between 10 and 15% per year. So we are expecting some significant traffic increases, which will necessitate a lot of additional roads in this area in the future as well.
Somebody from Spotsy.
Back to me again.
Talk to this one or VDOT.
Do you have any updates that that are not on here?
I mean, no, it hasn't really updated, it's just through cuts at several intersections
Really safe crossing situation connecting existing
Yeah.
sidewalk systems.
Yes, as someone who ran across Route 3 right there when we went out and did the field walk, yes, it would be great if there were crosswalks there.
It's a long run.
So we have the sidewalks, we just need the crossing.
Yeah, the sidewalk, it's just crossing it was,
Yeah.
was the
That's
issue.
Try not to hit someone when you drive through there next time.
And then additional slides, I think, are also for this project. There's
That's
what,
correct.
2 or 3 slides.
Yeah, there should be that one,
Crosswalks.
that one's got a crosswalk, that one does not have a crosswalk. And then it should also include Salem Church Road at, yep, that one.
And
a
the
fun-
sidewalks.
There's all
And
the,
that one includes
there's all
sidewalk
the
and the style
crosswalks
there.
that we need.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, next slide. And this is another Stafford project, Warrenton Road widening. In the upper left off to the side of this project, we actually have a new high school and elementary school going in. So as a part of that, we're looking at maybe we want to widen this road from 4 to 6 lanes, and including sidewalks and crosswalks in the full section of the project. So this just fills out our existing grid of sidewalks along Warrenton Road out to Stafford Lakes Parkway.
That's a spotsy one.
Is the shared use path in on this one, or, because we had talked about it?
So it is, but it's gonna be on the other side. It's gonna be, connecting to the existing sidewalk, that's already out there and going all the way down to the elementary school.
Oh, here, down Smith Station?
No, along 208.
Oh, okay, I gotcha,
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
gonna go from here
okay,
all the way down to the elementary. school.
understood. At some point, we'll have to hop the road through a crossing and get down to that Maspinock Creek Trail coming from this way. This is that same road corridor, so. We had talked about at Levels and 208, that shared use path on the other side of the road. So eventually we'll just have to come together through a crossing, maybe at the school even.
Yeah, I was gonna say the school might be the best.
That's an
way to
option.
do that.
But yeah, that's a nice win, and then crosswalk improvements there too. And the bit of sidewalk too, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you, John. I think there's only more slides just about smart scale questions or comments. Anyone have anything else further on this before we move on to the next and last agenda item? I guess one thing I'll note, prior Smarts Go rounds, you saw a lot of bike ped projects. And that was because they scored well. This round, the Commonwealth Transportation Board changed how projects are scored, and bike ped projects will not score as well. So this is why you see primarily roadway projects with bicycle pedestrian, whereas this.
Not see it in the city.
The city last year got a significant amount of bike ped projects funded, that fulfilled a good portion of their comprehensive plan, so. See how those go.
Good.
All right, last presentation on the TAP awards. I guess Jacob and Chris, if you guys want to, John, you wanna go through the slides and just talk about your specific projects? TAP is the Transportation Alternatives Program. It is a federal funding program for bike ped projects primarily.
Yeah, this is, we have 2 projects that I'll be reporting on. This is a sidewalk project, connecting a, new subdivision that was approved on Piedmont Drive known as Settle Creek, this rezoning GDPs here. They had originally been enabled for the rezoning through this area, and they had like 6 lots on this side, had to come back and actually kind of amend their application. And as part of that process, we had approved funding for this whole sidewalk system. However, when rubber hit the road and we went to the board, there was sticker shock associated with that. They were really tentative. They were considering actually dropping the funding on that project because of the out of pocket on that. So when this project came in and with this amendment, they had a shared use path running up Piedmont Drive that dead ended in some environmentally sensitive areas. There was a lot of concern about the viability of ultimate and the cost of eventually bringing that up to Harrison Road. And then additionally, they had a shared use path up an old driveway, which turns out they didn't have full there were other potential users in there that they couldn't really establish that connection. So what we ended up doing with that project was we shifted those proffered improvements for the applicant to instead basically construct roughly half of it through the project. So this section here in tap sidewalks is to be done by the developer of this project. The remainder then ended up being fully funded through the rest of the project. So we have a full connection up to the schools, Chancellor Park Drive. We also picked up existing sidewalks up here. So it really connects Piedmont all the way up over to Harrison Road. There's sidewalks then extending off of that. So this is actually a pretty good win for school access. And we're pretty happy about that one. Our transportation group, and then everything you see in green is private sidewalk network that'll be built for the project. But this was a pretty big win, and our transportation, Paul Agnello, they really led this one specifically. So it's that one. And then the Smith Station Road shared use path. What we've been trying to do is build on the success of the Spotsylvania Parkway Trail in Lee's Park. It's a fairly extensive asphalt trail system that runs from Smith Station Road all the way to Route 1 and then beyond the Spotsylvania Regional Medical Center, where it intersects with the Hospital Boulevard Trail system coming down from 17, and that is expanding southward right now with development. What happened is the Spotsylvania Parkway asphalt trail terminates right now at Smith Station Road. If you keep headed west, you're going towards Route 28 Courthouse Road. And this was a gigantic gap. And then we had a Cortland Park mixed use project that had actually proffered and constructed a shared use path to ultimately continue the system. So we had this big gap and we had support from the community. The HOA actually submitted a letter of support for this project as well. They want the connection to the Spotsy Parkway Trail. So we submitted this. This is the third time that we've actually tried, and third time was a charm. We're happy to pick this one up. It's about 1,800 linear feet there. Again, building on existing infrastructure and expanding upon it. I'd also note with the Sheetz gas station that was ultimately approved here, we've picked up sidewalk along the north side, consistent with our plan, which is sidewalk and shared use path road section. And they actually constructed themselves a shared use path up the frontage of their property, headed all the way up here. And they also did a sidewalk up this side of the road. So private development, TAP funding, another private development. There's a lot of growth in that area headed west towards Courthouse Road. And those projects we were just talking about at Smith Station and Courthouse Road and some of that infrastructure too. So all that network's coming together.
Awesome, thank you. We'll move on to the King George County application.
So they moved the Trailways plan implementation from the administration to Parks and Recreation 3 years ago. And so I decided to take every swing and bite at the apple that I could. We did not get safe routes to schools, but at the same time, we had a rural work plan. Carrie was working on courthouse plan for us to run from the inaugural drive to the YMCA. And also was selected from VDOT for their Ready, Set, Go program, which is for lower population localities. And they also did, it ended up being a 4-phase plan for us. Phase 1 is let's get the kids safely from the middle school to the intersection and across the road to the Sheetz, essentially. So it'll be 400 feet of sidewalk that'll start right there in the middle of the screen. There's a tree with a white line through it. Down Dalgan Road, ends up at the intersection. There is a goat path there where kids cross every single day to head to the Sheetz before practices. It will upgrade the signals and the crosswalks, most likely move the stop bars back, and we'll go from goalposts to ladders, which will be beautiful. And then there are a million rumors of what the Fast Mart there on the left side, it closed a month ago. And the rumors are rampant on what it's going to become. And I won't say anything because I don't know anything officially. But if it does become some sort of fast food establishment, we may never see kids cross the signal again. They're just going to run across the middle of the road. But, during the school year, you can take pictures of kids at 3 o'clock crossing that road.
It's so scary.
It's scary.
Yeah, I did the site visit for this one when the school was getting out and it was just like, really?
Yeah.
It was awful. Yeah.
Just like 4 lanes, that's what makes it scary.
But
Yeah, it's actually.
One application,
so eyes are open.
award, but. It's first time King
Well,
George's ever put in for it.
I guess you guys will be doing phase 2 next round and then phase 3.
Yeah, now the phases get a whole lot more expensive after this.
That's the fun part.
But I mean, you got $1 million, right? 865 or
Yeah.
56. I mean, keep going.
And I would say for those that if there are ones, like if you guys want to do the next phase and everything that come like October time, I would say that's when you want to sit down and talk with us about it so that we can kind of help develop those further and better than what they are right now. RK&K didn't do a bad job. It was the first round of ready, set, go.
They're rough.
They're changing the way they're setting it up and they now have planning involved with the ready, set, go from the beginning instead of like being halfway through and then being like, oh, yeah, hey, district, we need to ask you questions. They're trying to avoid doing that.
Good.
So,
But yeah, a very exciting project and hopefully we'll be able to do rather quickly
Awesome.
because there's no,
Yes, all of these,
no property acquisition involved.
yeah, all of 3 of these TAP projects, TAP is required to be built within 4 years of
Yes.
funding award. So
Mhm.
you'll see this one probably sooner than the other 2 maybe, but definitely within the next 3 to 4 years. Well, actually, Jacobs is the second phase of funding, so it might be sooner.
John, is this the last one or is there?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I mean, just from our side as FAMPO staff, we get really excited when jurisdictions win these things because, you know, we get a little bit of CMAC and STGB money that we allocate every year, but when we see additional, you know, there are other projects that jurisdictions have won that are not specifically bike ped projects, but we get really excited because there's more stuff that we don't have to run around and try and find some money for. Now we've got awards and congratulations to King George and to Spotsylvania on getting these awards. We think it's great. And the previous couple of months back, Stafford
Yes.
got a couple of awards, slightly different as well, but we're really excited when that happens and well done to those guys who put in the applications.
It wouldn't have happened without Cassie, Carrie and RK&K's work because I'm a Parks and Rec director and I am not a transportation planner.
See, what's nice too, I would just add is, one of the things that we're seeing is, yeah, it might seem disjointed and piecemeal. But as we're winning here and that intersection and we're actually creating new sections of gaps to then
yeah,
prioritize again. And we're really gonna start seeing a pretty significant network coming online here. We're slowly building a map to map that progress. It's great. It's great news. So, thank you.
Awesome. Well, we'll move on to item number 9, correspondence. Is there any correspondence for us, John? Looks like nothing. Awesome. All right, we'll move on to staff reports.
So we have 2 staff changes. Connor, who used to stand behind the computer where John is now, has accepted a position close to home, close to where he lives in Northern Virginia. And so we have a new person that's not that new, starting with us in August, and that is Leda Hinkle, who used to be our intern. And she did GIS for us, and she is now coming back in Connor's position as our lead GIS person. So she starts on the 19th of August. And then you'll remember Coley, who was our public engagement officer. She has accepted a position also in Northern Virginia at the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission. And we have interviewed and have appointed a new person to take that position. And they are starting this month on the 22nd of July, Eugene Liang. I'm not sure how to pronounce the surname yet, but we'll clarify that on the 22nd of July. So you'll see 2 new faces and they're young and enthusiastic, both of them. We're really glad to have them on board. We'll introduce them when they arrive.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ian. Well, with that, we will move on to member reports. I can just go first and then we'll just go around the room. So a couple items I'll mention. Ian mentioned a federal grant that we actually got, the Safe Streets for All federal grant. We got funding to do a planning grant. 2 planning grants actually for $650,000. We're using about $500,000 for actual like detailed safety action plan. And then about $150,000 of more interest to this group to update our bike ped plan. So we'll be doing a pretty extensive update. We last updated it in 2019 and before that in 1996. So we're pretty excited about that. We also got a few months ago, $10.2 million for a Brook Road realignment project, and it's just to realign the roadway for some flooding concerns. And then we're applying for $330 million worth of smart scale projects, so looking forward to that. All right, and we'll do- yes, we'll see how it goes.
It's good.
Move on to
King
Chris.
George side, next Thursday, myself, our GIS staff and our county engineer are having a call with Maryland Transportation Authority. They want to be able to, we are mapping all the bike ped connections between their facility and our county. And I'm prepared to laugh a little since they cut the bike ped facility from the 200, whatever, $550 million bridge. So it'll be an interesting conversation to say. So the slide of the Barnesfield connection is the connections that I may have, but yeah, Saturdays, Sundays and holidays, dusk to dawn or dawn to dusk, you can push the button and ride your bike across the bridge.
I mean, I would not say that you should,
You can't.
because you
You can't.
can, but you
That's
can.
that's
We
the
can.
bike- that's the bike connection. There is no bed connection.
Yep.
I mean, we are talking about King George County, yes, so don't,
We are
like,
crazy.
you know,
Oh, but it's like, it only flashes for like 15 minutes, and I'm like,
And it's not, it's a very flat hill.
Do you want to race across the bridge?
the thing, I'm like, I don't think I could do this. in
run,
15.
Forrest, run.
That's basically, you better go as quickly as possible uphill.
And then obviously our community development department has been under a lot of change. If you look at our website right now, I believe we have 6 full-time openings and 5 of them are in that department. We need a director, we need planners, we need a zoning administrator, I think we need a permit tech.
Environmental inspector.
We need ENS, we need
Don't
ENS
take it.
again.
Don't take any FAMPO stuff.
Okay, so if anybody knows anybody, we'd love to have them, but I want to introduce everybody, Lucy Tuthill. Lucy is our newest, she's the only full-time planner we have down there. Fresh out of school.
Welcome.
She's learned a little bit out of everything. She's been with environment with me, she's been out with BPAC, so I don't know where she'll end up with our new county administrator, whether or not she might be our policy committee representative at some point.
What kind of a planner
Oh,
are
not her. I'm sorry.
I went to school for urban planning, environmental policy and planning.
you? Okay, welcome.
She may end up on tap,
Sounds good.
She's very welcome.
which is much better than me. So, that's it.
And then, yeah.
Nothing for me tonight. I already did my thing. Thank you.
I left early last meeting, Jacob. I didn't hear anything.
You're ceding your time to one of the other speakers. Is that-
Yes, that's correct.
All right, moving down or up the table, I shall say.
It's over to you.
All right,
Oh, so.
awesome. Moving on.
Okay, good. I actually have a couple of items. As we all know, the MOU that we have between King George, Stafford, and Fredericksburg with the Potomac Heritage Trail expired. It actually expired, I think, a couple of years ago. So what the Park Service wants to do is to relook at the MOU, see if we would like to make any changes to it. And I say we, I mean the jurisdictions involved. So they are starting off that process. And what they have asked me to ask here in this meeting is for each of the jurisdictions to appoint a point of contact. So that would be King George and Stafford and Fredericksburg. So doesn't have to be done right away, but sooner rather than later would be good. So if I could pass that action item to Chris and Matthew, and I forget who's here from Fredericksburg.
Jamie.
Mike Craig would be your point of contact.
Who's?
Mike Craig.
Mike, Chris? If I can get this kid to snag that. It is.
I work at Pennsylvania County and I'm actually, staffing their bike, blue trails and blue ways council. And, on the subcommittee that they have for the trail. So, I would be interested in having a point of contact as well with Stafford. I think we talked to Kathy.
Yeah, Kathy Baker, yeah. And I think I joined your meeting as well.
You're Matt?
Yep.
Okay, you're, okay.
Yep.
So I heard there was somebody else that she brought along. I contacted her first, and then she contacted you, and I think, and that was how you got into the meeting. So
Yep.
We're good.
Right?
I'll sit quiet now.
Okay, good. So, so good. Now the next item, the Park Service is kicking off the development of a comprehensive master plan for the trail. Hasn't ever had one. This is going to be about a 1.5 year effort. A comprehensive master plan is as the term indicates, runs the gamut of how a park, in this case, the Potomac Heritage Trail will be managed. This is what they look like. This is the plan for the Captain John Smith Chesapeake National Historic Trail. So the master plan for the Potomac Heritage Trail will be equally comprehensive, if not more so. So on these two items, they have asked if a representative could come to our November meeting and make a presentation on the MOU and the comprehensive master plan. So, Mr. Chairman, if that's okay, I'll pass on.
Yep,
Right,
pass it on to Carrie and then
and
figure out.
add them on the agenda. Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
That's all I've got.
John?
That's everyone.
Okay.
So for VDOT, we are obviously still kind of rounding out the corner for smart scale. Certain stuff has to be submitted by Monday. We're gonna be starting to review some of the information. Obviously, if we're helping the locality out, there's more leeway with that because we are the ones reviewing studies already and giving comments back to the consultant before we give them to you guys to upload them.
You're reviewing your own homework?
Well, yes, actually, no, we're reviewing Michael Baker's homework
Oh, okay.
because they're the ones who did the studies and then we have to review them to make sure everything in them makes sense.
I'm just
So
teasing.
far the studies are good, except warranting, but we're going to fix some warranting on that, so it should be fine.
Very excited.
It's just proof that you need a phase 2, is what it's gonna come down to.
Widening it to 8 lanes.
Oh, dear God, they're
No,
gonna
why it should be
construct a
more.
ground
Oh.
meeting.
Why you need to keep it going, basically.
Oh, that's right.
So also here tonight, I have my new person, Rachel. She just started with
hi.
us
Welcome.
in June. And she will actually be, if Linda can't make it, she will be the sub person, so I have to email you about that to change it
Nice.
with me right now. And Linda could not make it tonight, so as Linda would have been here introducing her. But yeah, I figured it'd be nice to get her to come to this, and she actually likes doing all the hiking and trail stuff. So that's even better. So, and she lives in the city of Fredericksburg area, so she'll actually get to enjoy the trails around here.
Welcome, good to have you.
Thank you.
All right, well, welcome you both to this meeting. I guess you may or may not be coming to future ones, but welcome. All right, anybody else on the end who'd like to give comments?
I want to let everyone know that VRE is letting kids ride free this summer, so that's a great thing if you're gonna. VRE, you can take your bike on VRE, so that's it. The kids can ride if they're 11 or over by themselves, as long as they have government issued ID that they can provide. So just in feedback. We do have kids who are Harry Pottering on VRE to private schools up north.
And weekend trains are coming.
Eventually.
Yes, you can. So, I have a new bus route going in from 208 to VRE. And just. No, I always wanted to promote that, so we've got that going from the 208 park and ride lot to VRE, and then there is a public comment period open for the EDOT for a new park and ride lot that's on Route 17 Road. It does have sidewalk infrastructure along with it, so if you all are interested in going out and looking at that, you can Google EDOT public comment Old Ford Road, and it'll take you right to. That's it.
Awesome.
Real smart skill application, so that's what I'm saying.
You want to say anything or?
Hi. Sitting here watch,
Done.
Awesome. Well, that is it. I will adjourn this meeting unless there's anything else.
Bang. Thanks, everyone.
Not the quickest.
No, I wouldn't wait, so that's.
So I shouldn't ask you all my smart skill questions?
No.
I won't, but good luck.
Have a good one. Matthew.